Hello, my name is Glenn Dyer, and you are watching a Dyer-Situation. Today, I am seeing Blair Witch, which is the reboot or second sequel to the Blair Witch Project. It's a little confusing because the second movie is like, something or other Blair Witch 2. Like, it was a very strange sequel. And this movie is, like, we know it takes place in the same universe later, like it's people, investigating the Blair Witch stuff after the fact, so it's a sequel, but it's kind of like a Star Wars thing where it's a soft reboot as well, so. Yeah, I have no idea where the second movie ties into all this, and that's probably why they didn't just call it Blair Witch 3, so, you know, I'm fine with that. I am a little annoyed that they went with that stupid 2010 reboot thing where just shorten the title to something. Judge Dredd, just call it Dredd. Fast and the Furious 7, just call it Furious 7. I don't know, RoboCop, just call it Rob. I don't know. So, let's see. So in preparation for this, I watched the original Blair Witch Project. Now, I did not want to see it. When I heard people describe it, when I saw clips of it, this did not at all sound like a movie I would be into. Like, it's like, oh, it's this experimental thing. It's kind of exploring the idea of just, like, having almost nothing happen in a movie. And being scared by, like, the tiniest things or something, and it's like, oh, jeez. I'm really not normally into that. I'm not into, like, really niche film school stuff like that. And I had a haunting suspicion that the only reason that movie was popular was because of the viral marketing ad that made it seem like, oh, this was a real thing that actually happened or something. But I decided to check it out, and believe it or not, I really kind of liked it. Like, a lot. It's hard to say, but, like, it really is kind of a lightning in the bottle effect, I think. Like, I think if anything else about that movie was different, like the time it came out, if the atmosphere was slightly off, if the setting was slightly off, it would have been awful. But as it is now, all the pieces, even though you don't think they'd work, they all kind of come together to form something that, whilst I wouldn't necessarily call scary, is certainly haunting and a little creepy and unnerving. Which is great. I like seeing stuff like that. The funny thing is, this movie actually made me hate Beneath the Mississippi a little more. I couldn't believe it myself. I didn't think that was possible. Because Beneath the Mississippi is the worst movie ever. But it actually made me despise a little bit more. Because Beneath the Mississippi, on top of everything else, is a ripoff of the Blair Witch Project. Like, after watching Blair Witch, I was like, oh, this seems so familiar. Oh my god, it's the same premise and style of freaking Beneath the Mississippi, but way better. You know, pretty much, if you look at them side by side, aside from the found footage thing, Beneath the Mississippi copies everything in there. Like, it's a film crew out doing a documentary or something on something, and then they all start slowly going insane from unexplained things, and then they all die. That's the story of Beneath the Mississippi, but told by a complete moron who has no sound editing equipment, I guess. Like, it seems like that similar type of thing. Like, oh wow, they made a really popular movie just by, like, giving some cameras to some people and then messing with them in the night for, like, a week. Wow, we could do that. We could do that on the Mississippi and claim it's a totally original product. The Blair Witch Project. Oh, wait. Anyway, so yeah, Beneath the Mississippi, also a ripoff. That's just great. That's just great. And also kind of makes me despise Blumhouse a little more, specifically Paranormal Activity, with the whole found footage aspect of it. Blair Witch Project isn't the first movie to use found footage stuff. Like, the first one was Cannibal Holocaust, of course, but it was the first one to achieve major success, and then Cloverfield had a similar effect, although not as big. And then Paranormal Activity, of course, super popular, jump-started the whole Blumhouse craze and currently ruined the world. But just watching these two movies side by side, the Blair Witch manages to, like, capture that creepy, unnerving feeling just entirely from the visuals and the situation and everything around them. And if you watch Paranormal Activity right beside it, you realize Paranormal Activity achieves that same thing using a baseline. Like, that's what Blumhouse does. Blumhouse realized that this Blair Witch thing, wow, super creative, super amazing idea, but there's one thing wrong with it. You can't recreate it. Any true studio that would try to fail immediately because it is so niche, so unique, so hard to replicate. But with a baseline, you could add that to anything and people will be fooled into thinking it's scary. I'm surprised that they haven't released a movie yet that is just a blank screen with nothing but a baseline, silence, and stinger. Because that's all they do. That's the only scary part. Can you imagine, though, like, people sitting there and be like, oh man, the third time that bass line got really loud, and then went to silence, and then a sting happened, oh, it was so scary, oh. I can totally imagine that getting to the point just where Blumhouse gets so lazy that that's the only thing they can do. Jeez. It really can apply to anything. It's quite amazing. In a way, I kind of admire Blumhouse for figuring that out. Like, really, all you need is the bass line. Ooh, the bass is getting louder. Ooh, the bass is scary. I don't normally hear bass get that loud all of a sudden. The bass is gone. Oh, it was so comforting. Oh, and now I feel alone. I feel like everything is too quiet. Oh no, if something comes popping out at me. Oh no, stinger line. Oh no. Oh wow. That came out of nowhere. Oh jeez. Fucking Blumhouse. Anyway, that's not what we're here talking about. So apparently this movie is kind of made along the same lines of 10 Cloverfield Lane, where it made totally in secret. Nobody knew it was coming, but here it is, people. Enjoy. And as such, not many people know what to expect here. I don't know if it was made by the same crew. I don't know if it has the same actors. I haven't looked it up. I do know it's a sequel, so of course it wouldn't have the same actors, because they're all dead. Or, well, something happened to them. They might have just gone insane, I don't know. Yeah, it's a sequel to Blair Witch. The only issue I'm having with that, as I said, I have no idea what the plot of this is possibly going to be about. Only issue is, the advertising scheme seems to make it look like a bunch of people running around screaming. And I'm not talking like in Blair Witch, where they're going around just shouting each other's names and stuff as they're looking for them. I mean, literally, like, that sort of stuff. Like, running and screaming and, oh my god, it's so scary, there's a monster after me, or something. I don't know. So, this could be utter shit. Or it could be okay. That's the thing. We're just going to have to find out for ourselves, I guess. But yeah, worrying. I definitely do not think it is going if it is good, I do not think it will be good along the same lines of the original Blair Witch, because I do think that that is almost completely irreplicable. So, we'll just have to see what this movie tries. Oh my god. So, you can tell that you're in for a good time with this, and that this is a very appropriate sequel to the Blair Witch Project, when not 2 minutes in before the very first jump scare. That's and it's not the last by far, and it's the most annoying type of jump scare, and it keeps happening so often in the movie that it almost becomes comical. It's the person is incredibly quiet, like literally making no noise until he suddenly appears behind someone. Like, it happens so fucking often, and it makes no sense every single time. Like just someone's concentrating on something, oh, and then somebody just walks up, but they have like ghost feet or something, so nobody can hear them, and then they're suddenly there, and there's like a thing that plays. Fuck the sound designer in this movie, but I'll get to that. And yeah, that just kept on happening. It literally got to a point where I think a character might have actually poked fun at it, which is strange. Like at one point a character literally said, "Oh my god, will people stop doing that?" That's exactly what I was thinking. It was so obnoxious. It's just strange, because the movie, aside from that one line, the movie does not poke fun of itself at all. So it's kind of strange. Honestly, in terms of like everything that happens, this movie reminds me more of Creature than the Blair Witch. And that's not a good sign. Like, oh god, I need to qualify this. So, this movie, I can tell from watching it just what the thought process was when making it. And here's basically how it went. Here's the thought process for when they decided to make the movie. Alright, I want money. Okay, after they decide they want money, alright. So we have the rights to the Blair Witch Project, right? And it's a semi-popular movie from the 90s, or was it the early 2000s? I forget. So, let's make another one of those. Okay, well, what do we do with this one? Alright, well, we'll have a similar type of premise, people going out into the woods, getting lost, blah, blah, blah. And, investigating this strange Blair Witch thing, and doing a documentary and all that. Like, literally the same plot, right? But with a lot more people in it, because 3 people is a little too little. And we're going to have them with modern day technology, like GPS and drones and magic earpiece cameras and stuff. So that way we don't have to worry about the handheld things that they were using in the first movie, because that was a pain. Already at this point, this is fucking stupid. You have just ruined the premise, and you do not get the point of the Blair Witch. I'm not even joking. They have these little earpiece things. The most annoying things I have ever seen in a found footage film. Because essentially, it's an excuse to have a shot of whatever the hell they want, no matter how little sense it makes, and just blame it on the fact that they're all wearing earpieces that shoot in super high-def 4K, apparently, and have the battery life to last weeks. Unbelievable. Oh god, and it's just so bad in terms of the found footage, because more often than not, they'll cut between characters, like talking to each other, and you can see that the camera on their ears is not facing each other, even though the cameras are. Like, this happens so often in the movie, you almost get used to it. It has that kind of Paranormal Activity 3 thing, where certain camera shots, like, honestly, there is no possible way this could be taken. Like, forget that whole stupid trend in found footage films where somebody's rolling the camera despite, like, crazy things happening. Like, why are you still holding the camera? You know, forget that. How about, how are you holding the camera there? How are you capturing this footage? This movie goes into that territory. And unbelievable, because the first film, the original Blair Witch Project, it was very, very careful with how it shot everything. It was very careful with how much sense it made to have the camera there at that one point, at that any given time, you know. They're documentary makers and stuff, so, and, you know, they're pretentious film students, so they'll film everything, right? And also, they, as the lady said, she was like, you know, even if we lose everything in this forest, this footage is all I have. And, you know, and when they're having their rage moment, she says, well, we'll look back at this one day and laugh and stuff like that. So she's justifying it. They don't bother that in this movie. They don't bother the fact that they apparently go to sleep with these freaking ear things on to record everything they see. They don't acknowledge the fact that they record themselves pissing, that they record themselves having arguments and stuff. They just act like, whatever, we're just filming it. We're just filming it for whatever reason. And it looks so terrible. There is no logical way to assume that they're getting all this footage. And that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of how bad this gets. This isn't just a bad Blair Witch movie, okay? Like, up until the first half was over, I was thinking, okay, this isn't a very good Blair Witch movie, but, you know, it's kind of average in terms of a horror film, right? 3/4 of the way through, I was at the point of, okay, this is a really bad horror film, but still slightly better than, say, The Forest, you know. By the end of the movie, fuck this movie. It got to a level so bad that it's hard to say. So, you know, I'm just gonna go off on whatever random thing I happen to pick up on. This is gonna be like Batman v Superman. Where the hell do you start? I don't know. Let's just pick things at random. Okay. Sound design was crap. The original movie, it was kind of, you know, because of the way it was filmed, where they literally just had the actors hold their own cameras and stuff, it got very natural, because they're literally just holding the cameras, right? And one of the interesting things there is that, especially for the sound design, is that there's two cameras that are in the original movie, a black and white higher definition camera and a color lower def camera. And the lower def camera has sound to it, and the higher def one requires external plugins, so it doesn't have its own sound. And so it's pretty interesting, because when you're seeing through the black and white one, you're still hearing the sound from the color one, which is totally realistic. You know, it goes all the way down to that level. In this movie, here's a sound design thing for you. There's this one lady who gets her foot cut on a rock, right? She's crossing a river and she cuts her foot on a rock, right? And every once in a while she takes a step on that foot and sharp pain goes through her foot and she like collapses, like, oh god, my foot, all that. Let's see. Any normal person, I'm talking any normal sound designer, would say, well, nobody, you know, people scream and stuff when their foot is in pain from a cut, but, like, no other noise comes out of it. No. That's not good enough for the sound designer of this movie. He added bone-crunching sound effects to it. Like, bone snap, like celery. Like, whenever she stepped on her foot. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Can you imagine? It would be like if somebody was punching another dude and his fist made the sound of, I don't know, a Pringles can opening. It would make no sense. And unbelievable. And especially in terms of, like, the editing and stuff. Just the editing in general. Like, with the first movie, you could almost believe, especially with the viral marketing and stuff, that, okay, like, there was 2 cameras filming, and their footage was found in the woods, and this guy or this team edited it into a cohesive narrative. So, kind of like a snuff film type thing. In this movie, they try to go for the same thing, like the footage was found in the woods or something. Except, if that were the case, then the person who decided to edit this is a complete asshole. 'Cause the film has all the glitches in it, and heavy basses that could not have possibly been there in filming. Like, the bass levels are ramped up, like I mentioned with Blumhouse, the bass line. That's the easy way to do it. You know, as I mentioned, the silent footsteps thing's probably part of them too. All the glitch effects at the end of each scene and stuff, like where the screen goes all crazy and stuff, could have easily been cut out by an editor if that's how the footage got in, but no, they were added post by an editor. So, like, if we're judging by this movie's premise, then literally this movie was edited by a complete a-hole. That's the only explanation. God. Oh God. So, let me just try to explain how the movie got so bad. Okay, so, at the beginning, it starts off rather straightforward. They're heading off into the woods to find out what happened to the last people who headed off into the woods, you know, in the original Blair Witch Project movie, right? And, of course, they set up tent camp for the night, and there's dolls set up everywhere and stuff, you know. Same type of thing. But in this movie, I almost thought they were going to do something clever. Because they find out that 2 of the people that came along with them, they admit that they were the ones who set up the dolls, and they were doing it just to prove a point or something. And they're sent off or something. So, like, okay, so they're maybe going to try and enhance this effect. Because in the original Blair Witch Project, it was kind of ambiguous as to what was happening. Was it a witch? Was it some Deliverance-style hillbillies? Was it a serial killer? You know, it's hard to say. And so in this movie, it's like, oh, okay, so maybe, like, these guys are messing with him or something. That's what kind of gave me the creature vibe, too. Just, like, the 2 people who led them into that area are also part of the inbred hillbilly folk and all that. And I was thinking it was going to go along that kind of line. It doesn't go anywhere. The only place it does go, and this is baffling to me, bear in mind this is a serious horror film about serious things, there is some sort of time dilation thing that happens, because they come back and they're like, it's been days since we've seen you! And it's only been like a few hours to them. The night is never going to end! Like, literally that happens. And then we see them later and he's like, and like the guy has a full beard and stuff, and he's like, it's been... You look exactly the same way I remember you. What is this? This is from a Doctor Who episode. Like a really stupid Doctor Who episode. Why is this in my horror film? Why is the time dilation crap in there? Okay, and literally, like, night doesn't end for some reason. And you know how in the original movie, I know I keep referring back to this, but it's just so baffling. In the original movie, they somehow managed to, if not scare you, at very least creep you out and unnerve you using nothing but stick dolls and piles of rocks, right? This movie, very first night, sends a tree crashing on the... crashing down and stuff, and you hear spooky screams and all that. It's like, oh god. And basically it just ramps up in ridiculousness. I don't know if I can even pinpoint this part that it started to lose me, but like it just gets more and more crazy as it goes on. Like this guy is killed by a falling tree and stuff. This lady, the lady with the foot problem, she tries to climb up to the drone that's stuck in a tree in order to see her way out of the forest, which doesn't make sense because the drone doesn't have a very good range and couldn't see a way out before. Because you know how in the first movie, like, the compass kind of led them in a circle? Well, in here, like, the GPS leads them in a circle, and they can't see the road with the drone and stuff, you know, so... In other words, the introduction of modern technology made very little impact on this story whatsoever. Like, at all. And instead of it being creepy and stuff and solemn, like, instead people are being knocked out and their bodies are dragged away, like Paranormal Activity style, like, oh my god, we're being dragged by invisible things, oh. But it doesn't get the worst. Like, up until that point, that's still just like normal bad horror movie. And until the worst part, and it sickens me to say this, but the worst part, when they get to the abandoned house. And it turns into quite possibly one of the worst horror scenes I've ever seen in my life. Logic and reasoning go completely out the window. Nothing makes any sense. They enter the house looking for this girl, right? And then the girl herself is wandering around. This is very confusing, by the way. I'm going to try and figure out how to explain it to you, but the girl is wandering around inside the house, and she eventually enters the basement, right? You know, the original movie ended where, like, the girl entered the basement and she saw somebody standing in the corner, and and then something knocked her down. Oh, by the way, before I go on, another thing that annoyed me is that they have many different types of cameras in this. As I mentioned, they have the fucking stupid ear thing. They have a modern camera and stuff. And one of the characters is carrying, like, a DV cam, right? And the thing that annoyed me is that the cam was widescreen. Like, widescreen format. And when they showed clips from the original Blair Witch, like, they're showing, like, oh, what happened there, that's also widescreen. And it's crazy. You know, this camera I'm using right now, this is a DV. It runs on high-8 tapes. This is 3x4. This is how these cameras look. There is no, like, widescreen version. At least I don't think so. And it's absolutely makes no sense. It's just this screams of just some producers saying, "Oh, why does it look funny? Why are the black bars there? It's not supposed to look like that. And why don't you make it look more like other things?" And so they made it widescreen. And the most annoying part is when they cut back to the original Blair Witch thing. And this is the part that should have tipped them off that what they're doing is completely stupid. They added sound effects to it. They added a thwomp sound effect when the lady was struck down and stuff, and I think they added some sort of spooky Halloween scream to it and stuff. And, like, what? At that point, you should have realized, maybe there's something in the original movie I'm missing here. Because why do I feel the need to add these things to it? Maybe it's because I'm kind of stupid. But anyway, So she goes down to the basement, and you know, you're expecting to see somebody standing in the corner, but you don't. Somebody does that silent appear thing, like I mentioned before, where he suddenly appears out of nowhere after making no sound at all with his footprints and all. And this is the point where the guy is going like, you look exactly the way I remember you. And he has like a full beard and stuff. And then, I'm not even joking, I'm not exaggerating, for no reason at all, no reason that I can determine, no reason that is said or mentioned or comprehensible, he knocks her out and then shoves her into a thing in the ground, like this little hatch in the ground, and then locks her in there. And the hatch has like little tunnels in it. And then for like 5 minutes, she crawls through the tunnels, and then emerges on the other side, and then like stabs the guy. Like apparently the tunnel ends in that room, and then she stabs him. I can't make this shit up if I tried. That had literally no point to it. That led nowhere. That had no impact on anything. And it made no sense. Why did that happen? It was insane. I truly don't understand. And believe it or not, that's not even the worst thing that happens in there. They actually see... I'm getting an aneurysm just thinking about this. They see the Blair Witch. You know what the Blair Witch looks like? Well, at first, I thought that the Blair Witch that they were showing, that it was like just some old lady, right? Because they do that whole thing where like the flashlight turns off, so they try to turn it on, and then it turns on, and you see some ghost image or something, and this big dress wasn't particularly scary, except for the fact it just popped out of nowhere, of course. But that wasn't the Blair Witch. The Blair Witch, they show her like running down corridors and stuff. Like, is a giant yellow, yes I repeat, yellow, long-limbed monster thing. And it chases our heroes up and down the stairs. This is such a complete betrayal. But, anyway. Then one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life happens. This is only... I don't even know what to compare this to. This is so bad. In order to defend themselves against the Blair Witch, the last remaining guy and girl, they find themselves in the attic, and the Blair Witch is behind them and busting down the door like freaking Hulk or something. In order to defend themselves, they all run into the room and stand in the corner and stare at the corner. Because somebody mentioned earlier, in a passing statement that made very little sense, is that if you stand in, for some reason, if you stand in corners, she can't kill you. And so they just stand in the corner, and she can't kill them. Actually, that's not even what they said. They said, like, staring at her directly will cause you to die instantaneously. So these kids stood in a corner or something. And in the original movie, that had nothing to do with Blair Witch. It was like this serial killer. According to this one guy who was telling the story, he said that the serial killer was killing his victims and required the ones that were still alive to stand in a corner because he didn't like them watching him or something. Fuck that. Have it be like literally, for some reason, Blair Witch can't hurt you if you stare in the corner. So dumb. So dumb. Oh my god. They literally just stand in the corner for a little while. And just like, oh my god, Blair Witch is behind me. And the Blair Witch is making like those noises over and over and stuff. And then, okay, this is the end of the movie. How do we wrap this up? How do we wrap up this movie? One of the guys is like, hey, I think I hear my girlfriend. And the lady's like, what? He's like, hey, is that you? And then he just immediately dies. Like, he just gets drug off or something. He just looks behind him. And, the girl's freaking out. And then she says, oh, as long as I don't see it, it can't hurt me. So she uses her phone. She raises her phone in the air and starts recording behind her. Not knowing if, like, seeing it this way will kill her either, but she sees it in the background. And, of course, the second she sees it, she goes, probably because the Blair Witch design is really stupid, but she sees it behind her and she goes, oh my god, Blair Witch! And then she starts, like, walking backwards, like this, holding the phone in front of her. It's like, oh my god, the Blair Witch, I gotta escape it. I gotta escape the Blair Witch by holding my camera like this. And then the movie ends when she hears the guy that died going, I'm so sorry, Javine, or whatever her name was, and she goes, oh, and dies. She dies literally the same way. What makes it even stupider, she looks behind her to see if he's there, even though she has a camera pointing behind her that should let her know that he is not there. And that's the movie. They found the footage of this. God. Oh my god. I am literally stupider for having watched this. I really am. Unless, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, so I'm just going to say this statement. This is the worst horror film I have reviewed on this show. This is worse than The Forest, I'll give it... I'm telling you that. Yeah, this is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. There is really no point in even mentioning just the comparison between this and the Blair Witch Project. Like, it's like one is of, I don't know, a candy bar, like, something like that. That's like, one's a candy bar and one is a painful stabbing by a knife. They're hardly similar. There's more differences between these two movies than similarities. This is so awful. Such a complete and utter failure of a film in every single aspect. Do not watch this. Do not. If you think it's going to be funny, I assure you it is mostly just agonizingly dull. And even if you do think that what I described sounds funny, I literally described everything funny about it. Alright? There is nothing else to this movie at all. There is no reason to watch it. There is no reason to give these people money. Anyone who made it should feel ashamed of themselves. And Blumhouse, you're off the hook for now. hot damn. It's amazing. It came out like so soon after Don't Breathe, which is one of my favorite horror movies I've reviewed on this show. World works in strange ways, I guess. Nothing else to say. So, I guess until next time, I'm Glenn Dyer, and you have been watching A Dire Situation.